You shouldn't have come here. There is nothing left in New Londo but the cold and the damp. Yet you stand there, looking down into the dark, searching for answers just like all the others before you. Since you are here, listen closely. Hear that dripping water. It's the only clock this place has left. I stand today beneath the heavy weeping foundations of Firelink Shrine, stepping into a subterranean mausoleum where the sun has long forgotten to shine. For untold generations, this place was a watery grave, its secrets hidden away beneath an ocean of black water, but the floodgates have finally been opened. The heavy waters have been pumped away. Yet there is no triumph in this reclamation, only a deafening, suffocating silence. As the mud dries and cracks under the weight of time, it exposes a grim, uncovered reality that the gods tried to wash away. Thousands of skeletonized remains lie frozen in the hardened earth, a collective monument to a sudden absolute terror. Look closely at them. Their bony fingers still reach upward, clawing at the empty air, begging for a mercy that never came. They did not die of old age. They did not die of disease. They were murdered by the very hands they trusted to save them. It is a profound horror to fathom that this bleak, bone-chilled wasteland was once a glorious city of humans, boasting a robust and flourishing culture. Long ago, during the majestic height of the Age of Fire, New Londo was the jewel of the lower realm. Lord Gwyn himself, the Lord of Sunlight, looked down from his high throne and recognized the immense talent, foresight, and leadership of New Londo's four kings. He trusted them so deeply that he rewarded them with a piece of his own magnificent Lord's soul. He granted them the right to build their civilization right here, as a proud lower vassal to the city of the gods. When the first flame began its slow, agonizing fade, and the dreaded curse of undeath crept across the land like a plague, other kingdoms crumbled into ash, but not New Londo. Under the wise governance of the four kings, the city adapted. It became an undead city, a sanctuary where the cursed could still find purpose, order, and hope. But hope is a fragile shield, and shadow is a patient predator. Into this golden age slithered a nightmare. The primordial serpent, Kath, rose from the dark depths and arrived in New Londo, bearing a seductive poison, the art of life drain. Kath did not conquer the city with an army. He conquered it through psychology. He whispered into the ears of the four leaders, preying upon the hidden weaknesses, the secret vanities, and the mortal anxieties of their human hearts. He offered them a way to cast off the shackles placed upon them by the gods, a way to preserve their power even while undead, and the kings, terrified of losing what they had built, fell to the dark. The corruption did not stop with the kings. Like an infection, it spread downward through their entire army. The proud knights of New Londo cast aside their shields and became dark wraiths, fierce, unholy servants of the dark. They learned the art of life drain, turning their weapons against the very people they had sworn to protect. Equipped with the dark sword and the insidious dark hand, they became the ultimate enemies of man, hunting down any living thing that possessed a soul to violently drain its humanity. If you stand in front of them for even a moment too long, they will seize you, their offhand pulsing with a sinister white light as they tear your very soul from your chest. To the gods of Anor Londo, this was not just a rebellion, this was an existential threat. A nation of humans, entirely freed from the shackles of the gods, wielding an army that grew stronger with every soul they consumed. Panic, pure, unadulterated psychological panic, seized the hearts of the powerful. They sent their greatest champion, Sir Artorias, one of the four knights of Gwyn. He wore a silver pendant to deflect the dark magic, and he even forged a desperate, forbidden covenant with the beasts of the abyss just to survive the dark void. He walked the dark. He hunted the dark wraiths with a cursed greatsword. But steel and valor were not enough. Artorias failed to eliminate the four kings. He could not close the abyssal rift. And when their greatest hero failed, the psychology of the rulers shifted from calculated warfare to absolute frantic terror. Consider the sheer psychological horror of the choice that followed. When fear becomes absolute, human compassion ceases to exist. The fear of the spreading abyss grew so overwhelming that it completely wiped out the moral compass of Gwyn's allies, and the three keepers of the seal, the crimson-robed sorcerers, were tasked with guarding the gates. They stood upon the rooftops, looking down at the sprawling, beautiful city below. They knew the dark wraiths were down there, hiding in the lower quarters. But they also knew that thousands of innocent civilians, mothers, children, and regular citizens who had nothing to do with the Dark Covenant, were sleeping peacefully in their beds. They faced an agonizing decision, and terror dictated the answer. To contain the threat, they chose to commit an unthinkable atrocity. They did not send an army to rescue the innocent. They did not shout a single word of warning through the streets. They did not give a mother the chance to grab her child and run. Driven by a desperate, cowardly panic that the darkness might escape, they turned their heavy iron keys and unleashed the floodgates. They drowned their own people. They sacrificed an entire vibrant nation, burying them alive under millions of gallons of water just to lock away a nightmare. Imagine the sudden, icy rush of black water crashing through your window in the middle of the night. Imagine the confusion turning into frantic terror, the screams of families trapped inside their stone homes, choked to death by the very magic meant to protect them. The victims were cursed in their final, agonizing moments of life. Because of this horrific crime, their spirits were denied the peace of death. They roam these damp, ruined corridors to this day as weeping, vengeful ghosts. They glide through walls, ceilings, and floors, striking out blindly at any living being that dares to enter, driven by an eternal screaming agony. To even touch them, to even fight back, you must subject yourself to a transient curse, a method so dreadful it requires you to use the severed limb of a previous victim, just to align your soul with their suffering. And if you stand perfectly still in these newly dried chambers, the most heartbreaking sound echoes through the stone. You will hear the piercing, blood-curdling shriek of the banshees. The tragic spirits of mothers who are still, centuries later, desperately clutching their newborn babies to their chests, throwing erratic lightning in a mad attempt to defend the children they couldn't save from the flood. Only one of the three sorcerers stayed behind to carry the crushing, unbearable weight of this guilt. His name is Ingward. He sits alone on this rooftop in his crimson robes, holding his catalyst, bound to these ruins for eternity. He stays here to pay a never-ending penance, guarding the seal to ensure that the sacrifice of the thousands they murdered was not in vain. The other two healers fled long ago, abandoning their duties. Unable to bear the haunting, watery echoes of the city they slaughtered, one took her arts to the depths of Blighttown, while the other vanished entirely into the history books. As I walk among these newly dried bones, stepping through the frozen mud, the grim truth of history becomes painfully clear. The means never justified the ends. The seals did not represent wisdom, they represented cowardice. For the truest horror of New Londo was never the monsters born within the darkness of the abyss. It was the monsters born from the pure, unadulterated fear of it.